Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. The Climate Transitions and Belonging Series Part 2, where we'll be having really an important conversation today on advancing climate equity through municipal leadership. Uh, my name is Stephen. I will be co-hosting today with my colleague Jorge.
Thank you so much, Stephen. And the work that we're about to present today is the result of some reflections that we have been having across the climate transitions and the building belonging networks at the Tamarack Institute. I am really excited to steward our networks for change at Tamarack and to collaborate with brilliant and caring people like Stephen and like many other of our colleagues, including my colleague Orpa, who's also joining us today, as well as my colleague Erika, and through our relationships, we have heard from our members and from our broader learning communities the importance of belonging, the importance of really centering equity into the work that we do, and how the belonging movement and the climate movement are actually closer than we think. So, to provide some context on why climate and belonging, why this part two webinar, we'd like to share with you some reflections on belonging and the work on making belonging a policy priority and by creating advancing a Canada-wide strategy for belonging. So on the next slide, we have the strategy for belonging report that we launched this year that provides some perspectives on how belonging has been identified as a need to strengthen movements in communities. We spoke with over 15 with thousands actually of individuals across Canada who participated in our work, including now I would say over 1,700 individuals who are supporting the call of a Canada-wide strategy for belonging. We hosted different conversations on across our networks for change, including the climate movement. And through these conversations, we heard on the value of belonging in strengthening communities' response in the event of an emergency. So the work that all of these details you can find them in this report that we launched earlier this year. And then on the next slide, we have some reflections on how the work that we do on belonging is not only about just building the movement and creating connection, it's also about centering equity. We recently launched the Tamarack States of Transformation. This is our framework for advancing equity, anti-racism, and reconciliation. And through this framework, we provide specific tools and approaches that can help us and help communities embed equity into their work. For instance, we are seeing one of them. It's called Achieving Equitable Outcomes. The next one includes a set of questions that we can see on the next slide that helps communities think about the way we're doing the work. For instance, who benefits from how things are now? Who is being excluded? What factors contribute to this exclusion, and so on? We really encourage you to take a look at not only the Strategy for Belonging report, which makes this connection between climate and belonging, but also Seeds of Transformation, which is about how do we center equity into our community engagement practices and our movement building efforts. So on the next slide, we have a couple of quotes on why strategy for belonging is important. This is not Tamarack saying it. This is the result of collective wisdom, of collective movement building. A participant said last year, we need conversations that do more than checking boxes. The trust and community we build fuels people to continue to meet and engage with each other. So again, this is about the benefits of building a strategy that not only makes belonging a policy priority, but also helps communities respond more effectively to the climate crisis. So on the next slide, we have more findings from the report. This quote that says a strategy would provide the stability needed to ensure these projects can continue and grow. And then on the next slide, we have the connection to, the path forward on the work that we're doing around belonging. Last year, when we started this movement, it was really about building awareness and will. This year, we're transforming skills and knowledge. And next year, we'll think about building the conditions for systems-wide support. And let's just pause here for a moment and just think about the climate movement. The climate movement, this is something that we continue to find over and over. It's not that different from the belonging movement in the sense that the climate crisis is a crisis of will. We need to be willing to change the way we live with one another so that we can create regenerative systems and systems that are caring for our planet. The same happens with belonging. The crisis of the crisis that is occurred by a lack of belonging is loneliness and polarization. Loneliness and polarization, unlike just like the climate crisis, these are invisible things. Yet we all feel it when we have a dying environment. We all feel it when our social structures are dying. So we are hopeful that likewise, just as we're learning in the belonging movement, in the climate movement, we really need to ignite the skills and knowledge, including leadership. What kind of leadership do we need to have in place to build truly equitable partnerships that not only bring the same people to the room, but actually broaden the circle and enable us to have deeper conversations. We need to be able to hold complexity, yes, and sometimes opposing views. We need to be able to hold those opposing views and meet in the middle in order to resolve the crisis that we're facing. And enabling systems-wide support, we need to ignite a new set of energy that can help us nurture these movements, the belonging movement and the movement for climate justice and climate equity. So on the next slide, we have, I believe, well, an example of the work that we're doing. Next week, we have the Strategy for Belonging working group that is thinking about looking at policies for belonging. We're doing this in partnership with the Global Center for Pluralism. I'm conscious that we have we have a religious holiday on that time. We do our best to accommodate, and sometimes there's even if we're really trying our best, our schedules are very difficult to hold all these different engagement opportunities. But please know and rest assured that you can always contact us if you want to be involved, provide your feedback on this movement. Everyone is welcome as long as we're willing to center equity and to really build partnerships that help each other meet in the middle. So the next slide presents finally, and I'll wrap up with this, reflections on the Strategy for Belonging movement in relation to disaster recovery. So what we heard from last year's conversations is that the devastating impact of climate and health emergencies have not only driven more individuals into poverty, but also worsened the circumstances of those already struggling. The consequences, wildfires, displacement, property destruction, health issues, and so on, are devastating. And this is why at Tamarack we have an emergency preparedness community of practice, and we welcome you to join to that community of practice. For now, we're working on sort of a cohort model, but hopefully next year we'll have more opportunities for communities at different stages for them to join and participate. We also have this quote from the report and from the conversations last year that says those experiencing poverty, having low income, poverty or having low income want to feel like they're part of the community. We're trying to bring this together and convene services in one place to make it easier for people to learn about what's available. So as we can see, belonging really helps mitigate the severe consequences of the crisis we're facing, including climate emergencies and natural disasters. So maybe we can move to the next slide. These are some numbers just to give you a sense on who has been engaged in the conversations. Much gratitude to municipalities and community health organizations that have been huge champions for this work, as well as community groups, including grassroots groups. So thank you. And thanks to everyone for continuing to contribute to this movement. And the next slide. So
That will be me.
Yes.
No, thank you very much, Jorge. Working with you, it's breathtaking every day. The really deep conversations that we have, the passion, the intentionality that we all bring, it's really what we need to be able to move this work forward. I know I read through the chat. Not so good the way people were feeling in the check-in. But again, the hope is really that at the end of the session today, people will really be excited and really see that this work, goes beyond just checking boxes, as you did say. So I will be introducing us today to a climate ready communities assessment tool. For full disclosure, this is shout out to any FCM Federation of Canadian folks that are here in the call. This is a tool that was co-designed and really led by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. There was a lot of extensive consultation with communities from coast to coast to coast, with input from community members, community associations, to really co-design and bring this tool together. And as I introduce this tool to us, there's just some few promising questions and reflections that we want to, I want to ask ourselves. Uh, what does it mean to feel safe, connected, and rooted in communities when climate is changing around us? What does that mean to you? Climate change is not just about, for me, rising temperatures or stronger storms. It is really about whether our neighbors can afford to stay in their homes, whether our elders can keep cool during heat waves, whether indigenous knowledge is respected in adaptation planning, and whether people see themselves reflected in decisions that affect their future. This is something that we already discussed when I was trying to connect the dots between climate equity and belonging. And that's really why we are here today, to explore this climate ready communities assessment tool as a resource that is as much about belonging and equity as it is about resilience and infrastructure. This is a tool that will really help municipalities and indigenous rights holders across Canada not only to ask these questions, are we ready for climate impacts? But we also ask these questions: who are we leaving behind? And how can we bring everyone with us in this movement? So this tool is really, in this webinar today, it's really an opportunity for us to see climate change or climate action not as a burden, but more as a chance that will help strengthen trust, will help build partnerships, will help really shape communities where everyone, every resident feels they belong, that belonging again. And that's something that I'm really excited about. And I think that at the end of this webinar, we will all be excited. Opa, can you get us to the next slide, please? So in designing this tool, there were a couple of considerations and principles that were really put into place, understanding that uh, every community, every municipality, they have the context is different. So this tool is really designed to be flexible and really be adaptable, really allowing any community, no matter small, no matter rural, with a big municipality, to be able to tailor strategies that would meet their specific local needs and conditions. And again, just to say again, it's not a one size fits all approach for this tool, because it really considers the socioeconomic and environmental context. And the tool is really designed to be able to adapt, to be nimble, and to support diverse approaches and any innovative solutions when it comes to this work. And to be last but not the least, just to emphasize really the importance of continuous improvement and adaptation in this tool, which is built in this tool, and for us to be able to learn from experiences, things that we're doing right, things that we are not doing right, to be able to build upon that. Can you move to our next slide, Oprah? So this tool is really about building awareness on climate adaptation and local governance. Just to share how awareness and education is really important for us in this work that we do. Is this recent research was conducted by Abacus Data and Clean Energy Canada on the adaptation or the adoption of clean tech, specifically around EVs, electric vehicles, and heat pumps. I'm sure a lot of people probably have seen this research. So, which I want to pinpoint, especially people that were at the fence. This research called them frugal skeptics. They are not willing to adopt either an electric vehicle or a heat pump. When this research shows that people that are at the fence, when they were able to be provided with trusted information, with information that they need, then you could see how early adoption of this technology, clean tech, would change significantly. This is just to highlight the fact that in building our projects, in building our climate planning, in building whatever when it comes to our journey, our climate adaptation journey, when people are provided the right information, I know there's a lot of misinformation, but that's a story for another day. We're not talking to that. But when people are given the right information that they need, it really moves the needle because they can make informed decisions. This tool is really about when you go through. When I'll be walking us through this tool in a minute, but going through the self-assessment, it really paints a picture, provides a snapshot of your current status, where your municipality or your community is at, and will tell you or provide you specific pinpoints and interventions that you can be able to make in order to progress or advance in your climate resilience journey. The next slide, Oprah. Yeah. So about the tool itself, this tool has three key foundational pillars. And all these pillars are all interconnected. People, partnership and governance, risk and adaptation planning, implementation and integration. So in each of these pillars, we have milestones. And in each milestone, there is a spectrum or a sliding scale from you've not started in that particular pillar or in the milestone to advanced practices like you've already far away advanced. So it's really tailored for either if you've not started, you've made some progress or no progress to advance, because the tool is really designed to meet municipalities, meet communities where they are, and for them to be able to really tailor the context to be able to move ahead in this journey. We can proceed to the next slide, Oprah, please. So in using the tool itself, it's a two approach. So there is like first 7-step preparatory process, and there's a 5-step implementation cycle. So as every tool, you will need to first of all familiarize yourself with the tool, the structure, the content, and understanding the layout and components so that you can be able to help navigate more effectively and make most of its features. You have to define what you hope to achieve by using this tool, setting clear objectives that will help guide your efforts and keep the process focused and goal-oriented. You need to create a timeline for completing this tool, which is very important because in anything, in project-wise, everything, when you set clear deadlines at each step, that will really streamline the process and really ensure that you complete, that you have timely progress. And again, something which I stress in the consideration and the principles when when this tool was being designed, to really reflect on your community's unique circumstance, because contextual factors will really help you inform how you complete the self-assessment and develop your roadmap. Probably need to gather all relevant documents, if it's plans, adaptation plans, so emergency preparedness, all that information needs to be handy so that you can be able to complete this tool very easily. Then obviously you need to determine if it's within the departments or cross-functional teams to schedule meetings, collaborative meetings, so that you know who is part of it and the information that they bring to the table so that you can jointly be able to complete this tool. It's not a tool that, just to re-emphasize, is not something that can be completed by one person. It's a teamwork cross departments. Next slide, Oprah, please. So in terms of the second phase of using the tool itself, there's this 5-step implementation cycle. So which when you answer all those questions based on the pillar or based on the milestone, each question is structured in such a way that to really assess where you are in terms of that particular milestone or the particular pillar, and where you want to go and how you get there. And once you answer all those questions, it shows you a snapshot of where you are in terms of your climate resilience or adaptation planning journey, and will provide you pinpoints and interventions on how you can proceed to really chart the roadmap. Next slide, Oprah. Okay, this brings us to the tool itself. Just give me a moment here. Let's share my screen. Okay. In this case, I'm just gonna breeze through so that I think, yeah, we still have some time so that we can really have time to be able to go through our questions and continue this conversation. So you can see that most of the things that we've already touched on when using any tool, we have different tabs here. All that we've discussed on the core pillars, the milestones, and that sliding scale or that spectrum for each milestone or pillar that really shows you if you've not started, some progress have been made, more progress or advanced practices. So you're just gonna familiarize yourself and the different steps of really how to use the tool. Then on this next tab here, this is optional just to provide information about the organization. Then each tab here,
sorry, Stephen. We can't see your screen, actually.
You can see it?
Oh, I think it is there. Sorry. If folks are also only seeing the webinar panelists, there's a little tab at the top of your screen that says Stephen's screen. You should be able to see it there. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. We all good?
Yeah,
we all
see it, Stephen. I'm in the chat. Yeah.
Can we see it?
Yes, people can see it. That's what they're saying.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Sorry about that, and thanks, Opa, for bringing that to my attention. I could not really multitask while looking at the chat at the same time.
We're good.
Yes. So each tab here represents a pillar: people, partnership and governance, risk, adaptation and planning, implementation and integration. So what I highlight here, which is really important, once you go through the self-assessment for each of these tabs, this is where you will get the snapshot of where you are and how you can chart your roadmap. So like here, you will on the left side here, you're still gonna see people partnership and governance, goes down to risk and adaptation, implementation and integration. At this point, I have not checked anything in any of those milestones or any of those pillars. That's why at the very bottom here, you will see based on your self-assessment result, your community does not have completed or documented climate risk assessment adaptation plan. On column Y here as well, you will see that here, if you don't complete the self-assessment correctly, all this column will prompt you that there are errors for you to go back based on the milestone or based on the pillar to be able to complete that. So just checking the time here. So we're gonna blaze through this quickly, but again, at the end of this session, this is just a scratch on the surface. We cannot really have a full sum to really walk you through on this demo, but you will have this resource at the very end so you can play with it. So, but for the essence of this demo, let's go, for example, in the people partnership and governance. It has in each of these pillars, as we earlier saw, there are different milestones. So for the essence of this exercise, let's go say for internal resourcing and collaboration. Let's go based on the spectrum because it goes from not yet started on the left to advanced practices. So on this, for the essence, let's just go on some progress has been made around human resources. We can check this. Then this is still within this first milestone of internal resourcing and collaboration. We can check around financial resources, budgets for climate adaptation, unlimited or informal. We can check this. And on the next milestone, still for our people, partnerships and governance, external collaboration and partnership. On the essence of this, we can check some progress has been made on this. And for the third milestone here, which is council commitment and climate adaptation policy, we can go on some progress have been made. We have policies that provide some direction on climate adaptation. And then around council commitment, council recognizes the importance of climate adaptation. So we're gonna check all this, and we're gonna go quickly to the last milestone within this pillar of people, partnership, and governance. Still, for the essence of this, some progress have been made. Staff and council have a basic understanding of climate change or climate hazards. We understand climate change and adaptation awareness and education needs of staff and council. On the community side of things, we're also going to check this, that it's at the very end here on column B, here, there are some boxes here which you can probably just write or provide any input on to reflect where you want to go and identify how you could get there. Let's go to risk and adaptation planning. Here, on this, we have 4 milestones on this side as well. We establish the foundation based on the service areas here. If it's something that really tells you, for example, define the scope of climate risk assessment or collect and prepare relevant data related to climate, community demographics, and all that. For the essence of this in the service area, we can check we have completed for all core service areas. Then around climate hazards, we can check that we have completed for multiple climate hazards. One thing that I wanted to highlight here is that in this section for risk and adaptation planning, you cannot check 2 at a time. It's going to tell you right away, please select only one option. So one thing that I forgot to highlight in building or designing this tool reconciliation, anti-racism, equity, and inclusion is really the front and center of this tool. So on this question on reconciliation in AI, we can also check for the essence of this that we have somewhat integrated reconciliation area in our plan. So let's move quickly. As again, as I said, we're just blazing through this, identify climate impacts. For the essence of this, we're gonna check we've completed for all core areas, service areas. Then around climate hazards, we're gonna check that we've completed multiple. And for reconciliation, we have somehow integrated into this service area. And when it comes to analyze and evaluate our climate risk, we can check one, we've completed all core service areas. And around climate hazards, we can also check we've completed for multiple climate hazards. And around reconciliation and area, we have somehow integrated reconciliation area. Just checking on how much time we have. Okay, on one of the last milestones within this pillar of risk and adaptation planning, on the service area here, we can check we have completed for all core service areas. On climate hazards, we can do the same thing. And for reconciliation and area, you can check somehow completed. So there's on B here, on reflections that you can key in the sections here. We can quickly move into the implementation and integration section. Please, again, just to remind ourselves that we will have this tool to be able to play around with. So on implementation, it really tells you like if you've not started or you made some progress or more progress made or really advanced practices. So for the essence of this tool, again, we can check on some progress have been made, can check all three here. And when we go down to integrate into organizational system and processes, we can still go here and check some sort of integration, how relevant it is, if identify some areas and all this. Then for the last, which is monitor and review, we can still go around some progress has been made, and we were gonna check that. And at the end here, we can provide any information reflecting on where we want to go and how we could get there. So let's just, for the essence of this quickly, let's see how our snapshot looks like. So here, where I highlighted here, we see that we don't have any errors here. That means we've done the self-assessment. And what I want to point out here, you see how at the very beginning, there was a statement here that based on your self-assessment results, your community does not. But now you have your community does have completed and documented climate risk assessment and an adaptation plan. Again, we will be able to share this so you can play with it and see how it can work for your own context. And again, as even I mentioned earlier, this is not just checking boxes. It's deeper, more than just that. So I think I can stop sharing for the moment and close off us so that we can be able to have questions. But I think, yeah, just go on the slide. Perfect. Thank you very much. So why does this tool really matters? As I just want to highlight very quickly that as we start completing or doing the self-assessment, especially there's some questions or prompts that I want us to think through or reflect on as we're completing this tool. For example, on the governance, people, and partnership, ask yourself, whose voices have historically been missing in your community's climate planning? And how might this tool help bring them in? Around the risk and adaptation planning, ask yourself, what are the risks your community is most concerned about? How do those risks look different depending on income, on age, or on identity? Around implementation, pillar, ask this question when you're completing this tool. What does it look like when climate adaptation is embedded into everyday municipal systems? Not only as an add-on, but as a standard practice. And to connect this on belonging and equity, which Jorge really helped ground us on that, on the belonging side of things, ask yourself, how do we move from climate action being something done to communities towards climate action being something done with communities, so co-designing? And on the equity side of things, who benefits first from adaptation investment in your community? And how can we secure or ensure that these benefits are shared more fairly? I think, again, this is not just a checkbox, as I earlier said, and I think we will probably, I think we'll have some time for questions. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure if we'll stop sharing or we can just leave that so we can be able to see.
There are two questions in the Q&A panel, Stephen. The first one is, and folks, if you want to continue to share questions in the Q&A panel or in the chat, we'll look at the chat as well. The first question is there an equivalent of Green 2.0 in Canada, i.e. an organization that promotes diversity within environmental organizations?
And 2.0. Organizations probably at the local level or municipal. That's really an important question. Because even here at Tamarack, if I'm not wrong here, Jorge, with our sense of transformation that you touch, right? It's really about promoting really that anti-racism, that reconciliation, and embedding in every practices, in every tools, for everything that we do, and engaging our communities. So I'm not sure if that speaks directly to the question, but I don't want to call upon, a single organization that really works on that, but I know that there are a lot of organizations out there that really promotes all environmentalism into the processes and all that. But it's something that we can definitely be able to circle back on that. If you have any input on that,
I don't have an organization that comes to my mind. Specifically around the mandate similar to Green 2.0. There are definitely many grassroots that are working on climate equity, climate justice. But for instance, I know that Green 2.0 has this program for increasing pay equity for staff at environmental organizations. I have heard about like decent jobs, but not in the climate movement. So maybe there are, I'm just not aware of them. If anything, I would encourage you to connect with us, and then maybe we can share some resources from our Climate Transitions Network on upcoming events and activities that our members are doing in case that's of interest to you.
Thanks, Jorge and Stephen. And if folks have organizations that come to mind that they know of, please share in the chat. That's a great question. The second question is about the tool. Is it possible that an organization could have made progress in some areas but not started on others?
Yes, that is really a perfect question. And this is how this tool has been designed. like to really, based on your context, tailor for you to be able to improve on aspects that you've not started at all. Say, for example, like in the different pillars, pillar one, which is on partnership governance. Say you've gone through all that, and you've also gone through risk adaptation and planning, but you've not done anything on implementation at all. You've not started the implementation journey at all. So it will tell you clearly that these are the pain points, these are the interventions, or this is what can get you started. So that tool is really designed to be flexible, irrespective of where you are. It will tell you how you can get started, or if you're far way advanced, it will tell you on things that you can continuously work upon to reinforce your strategies. Yes. Once we share the tool, you're able to play around it, you will see. Yes.
Thank you, Stephen.
You're welcome.
We have a third question here as well. This is a useful planning tool for front-end examples of climate adaptation. Since the use of heat pumps was mentioned in the comments, maybe this needs to be called a low-carbon resilience tool. I am curious if anyone has a dashboard to track metrics and progress in a way accessible to the community, for example, on a local government website.
Not at the top of my mind, but I'm not sure if this is related. If anyone has heard of Energize Bridgewater, they've really developed this cool tool in which residents or everyone can be able to really track based on maybe the energy consumption, because energy, for anyone that doesn't know, Energize Bridgewater, which is in Bridgewater, they developed this tool or really came together as a community because of energy poverty. The community was dealing like close to 50% of the residents are dealing with energy poverty. So using approximately 10% of your income after tax to be able to pay for bills. So they were able to develop this cool tracking tool in which might not be directly related, where residents can see how they are tracking the energy consumption and know and see pinpoints on which they can improve on, or they might not do much. I'm not sure if that answers that question, but at the moment, I'm not sure or aware of any municipality, so to speak, that has such a tool that can really be able to track that. No. Okay, thanks for sharing Energize Bridgewater in the chat. For folks to look into that.
Thanks, Stephen. Jorge, did you want to add anything to that?
No, but just like I kept reflecting on the Green 2.0 in Canada question, and I wonder if Climate Caucus could be an option also as part of like getting started into these reflections, because Green 2.0 has a big mandate. So I see some resonance with Climate Caucus, but maybe this could be an initial step. And I also I also saw a message, a comment on the tool being shared also by FCM. Yes, this tool is really important as part of our climate transitions work because it's an FCM tool. And I believe you mentioned this earlier, Stephen. This is a part of a new cohort that we're launching next week. So of communities advancing climate action and centering equity. Stephen, you can talk more about this cohort, but our conversation today is also part of the curriculum of resources that we are putting together for these municipalities that will be engaged in this cohort, and which is done in partnership with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. As you were talking about the Green 2.0, I was thinking about Eclair Canada, which I've seen them done.
Yes.
Yes, Eclair, they've done a lot of work on that aspect as well. That is a resource in which, that's an organization which we can be able to check and really go deeper into what they have in terms of resources and all that. And on the cohort you were talking, which is leading together local governments, advancing equitable climate resilience. It's a cohort which will be launched next week on the 25th. And this is really for municipalities or municipal partners and organizations that are really stuck in the how and they're looking forward for ways to really advance in the climate resilience and planning journey. So it's really excited for people that probably are interested in it. I can definitely share our landing page, although I think we can still be able to accept one or two spots. If it's something that is of interest to you, please, you can reach out to me directly or any of us, and we can have a conversation with that on that. I've shared that in the chat for the essence of time. Do we still have any questions or any thoughts or comments?
There are two questions that speak to similar things, so maybe it can be our last question. Some of the missing voices are climate and environmental / ecological scientists within senior levels of government representatives. How do we make sure that our governing bodies have a diversity of educational backgrounds? And the second question was around municipalities' top actionable insights in embedding equity into their municipal climate strategies. Are there case studies that could be shared? So sort of like the governing bodies and municipalities actioning equity and adding a diversity of educational backgrounds in, but also, yeah, if there are examples of municipalities that have embedded equity into their municipal climate strategy. Sorry, I've had to merge the two, but
Yeah, at the very top of my mind, sorry to use this, but I'm going to use it. It's a big municipality, the city of Toronto. When they launched the climate adaptation plan, I think back in 2021, 2020, it's one of uh, the strongest climate adaptation plan in North America, with them obviously hoping to reach net zero by 2040. But when that plan was designed, Council found out that it's technically strong, but however, it's still there's that social aspect of it, which the solutions to climate change are not just technical. So what about the social aspects? That's how for them to be able to bridge the gap, they decided to create this climate advocacy, no climate committee, in which they brought in 20 plus members in terms of representation from different walks of life, from different identities, equity deserving groups, and people with different backgrounds, whether with scientific knowledge or you have no knowledge. So this committee really looks into things, looks into the policies to make sure that any programs that are designed by the city of Toronto reflects the voices of the residents. That is a typical example to show how in each facet of the climate action journey, should bringing all those voices, all those groups that definitely are not represented. So I know a lot of municipalities have those kinds of climate advisory groups, but the city of Toronto is the one that comes to the top of my mind.
Stephen, I also shared the link to our 10 guide on advancing climate equity through place-based collaboration. So that includes a couple of examples. We can include another one from, I believe we have a document on place-based collaboration as well that highlights some examples on municipal leadership and climate action. So we'll include these resources in our follow-up email. And thanks, Afina, for your message. That's really helpful in response again to the Green 2.0 question. I'm conscious of time, so we have some closing announcements here. We're really sorry we couldn't go through all of your questions, but you can always reach out to us. Our emails are just the names that you see here, Jorge at tamarackcommunity.ca and Steven at tamarackcommunity.ca. So please feel free to reach out, schedule a call, and we can continue reflecting together.
So you
So
can move the slide for, sorry for interjection. I think they were seen that last slide
yeah,
with the names. I think it's the
awesome.
next slide. Okay. For
Awesome.
context.
And we also shared some closing announcements. You were able to view them through the screen. We will include them in the follow-up email. We have a couple of exciting events coming up in September. It's really packed for us, so we hope you can join us. Thanks, Orpa.
Thank you. Thanks, Jorge. Thanks, everyone, for joining today.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
See you next time.
Take care.